Yes, Ms. Hassim.
Thank you, Chair. We can return then to the statement. General, you were at paragraph, you had just completed paragraph 257.
I forgot, Ms. Hassim, you'll assist
Sorry,
us
Chair,
with,
so I
with
forgot
where
as
all
well.
of these should go. Yeah.
I meant to say this is the more legible
Yes,
version
yes,
of
yes.
SS 28.
Oh, all right. Perhaps your junior will mark them for us and stick them, or even the instructing attorney, the attorneys, stick them where they should go.
We'll ask the attorneys to attend to
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, General.
Thank you, Chair. I have the dates of the trip to Cape Town that I maybe should read into the court record as I proceed. It was from the 5th of January 2025 when we left for Cape Town and arrived in Cape Town on the 5th of January, and then we left Cape Town on the 12th and arrived at Pretoria on the 12th of January 2025. Those are the dates, Sir.
Oh, thank you, General.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I must resume from which paragraph, Evidence Leader?
Yes, you had just completed 257, so you're now on 258.
On the 2nd of December 2025, my attorneys were served with a further search, access, and seizure warrant, warrant 2, authorized on the 1st of December 2025 by Mutau J, pursuant to a second ex parte application launched by Brigadier Kunene under the same case number. Upon consideration of that application, it is apparent that the founding affidavit is, in all material respect, a duplication of the affidavit used in the first ex parte application, save that the number of alleged suspects was increased without explanation and additional non-SAPS individuals were authorized to participate in the search and seizure operation.
General, were you able to clarify? You were going to check whether that this is accurate, the non-SAPS individuals.
I am able to clarify, and I was clarified, and I'm quite comfortable with what is in the paragraph.
Okay.
On the 8th of December 2025, I launched an application for the rescission of the order granted ex parte by the Honorable Mutau J on 1st December 2025 on the basis that the resort to an ex parte procedure, particularly in respect of the second ex parte application, was improper, unjustified, and constituted an abuse of process designed to obtain intrusive relief without proper notice of or judicial scrutiny. This application is still pending. I'm advised that both search and seizure applications and warrant are beset by material defects, either in the manner in which the warrants were obtained or in the execution thereof. In my view, these cumulative irregularities demonstrate a concerted and improper attempt to obtain incriminating material against me, rather than a bona fide investigative process. The manner in which Warrant 1 was executed, including the disproportionate deployment of force and authority and the associated media presence, gives rise to a reasonable inference that the operation was not conducted in a measured or purely investigative manner. Viewed objectively, these circumstances tend to create the perception that the execution of the warrant was calculated to cause reputational harm to me, rather than being confined to what was strictly necessary for the lawful investigative purposes. This event have in turn resulted in extremely social media reporting and commentary effectively giving rise to a trial by social media, which has, I know it says by trial by media, but it's a typo. It was meant to be social media, which has been materially detriment to me, both personally and professionally. Much of this reporting has been inaccurate and misleading and has amplified reputational harm arising from the manner in which the warrants were executed, rather than reflecting a fair or fact-based account of the underlying events. Now, I'm going to the overall effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms within the SAPS. Paragraph 263. Part of the terms of reference of this commission includes an inquiry into the effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms within the criminal justice system, as well as the role played by any member of the national executive responsible for the criminal justice system. This encompasses an examination of whether such persons were complicit in, aided or abetted, or otherwise participated in alleged criminal activities, whether they failed to act on credible intelligence or internal warnings, and whether they derived any financial or political benefit from such activities. In such section of my affidavit, I accordingly address conduct within the leadership structures of SAPS, which in my view warrants scrutiny within the scope of the Commission's mandate. Overtime claims in respect of an application for overtime payment in respect of the period 1 May 2023 to 31st of May 2023, allegedly relating to the protection service rendered to me by Warrant Officer Monageng and Warrant Officer Sekhodi, which application was approved by General Sintumule. I attach here to marked Annexer SS37 a copy of the information notice reflecting this application as well as the purported hours of overtime allegedly worked. The application records overtime purportedly worked during May 2023 by Warrant Officer Monageng and Warrant Officer Sekhodi for my protection. This is incorrect. During the period in question, I neither requested nor was allocated any protection service, and no protection details was assigned to me. At no stage during May 2023 did Warrant Officer Monageng or Warrant Officer Sekhodi or any other member of the SAPS perform overtime duties for my protection. The overtime reflected in this application was therefore not rendered as recorded. Upon becoming aware of the existence and approval of this application, I referred the matter to the Independent Police Investigation Directorate for investigation. The application purports to claim overtime for services that were not requested, not authorized by me, and not performed. The approval of such application in the absence of any factual basis raises serious concerns regarding the accuracy and integrity of the approving authority and the lawfulness of the payment claim. The foregoing raises the question as to how General Sintumule approved the overtime claim in the absence of any verification that protection service were requested, allocated, or rendered, notwithstanding that such verification would have been readily ascertainable. As the approving authority, General Sintumule was required to exercise due diligence to ensure that overtime claims were supported by objective proof that services were authorized and rendered. This would ordinarily include verification of protection allocation records, duty rosters, or confirmation from the protected member. None of this appear to have been undertaken prior approval of the claim. The approval of an overtime claim in these circumstances is not a minor administrative lapse. It implicates systemic weaknesses in financial and operational controls, particularly where claims relate to protection services, which are sensitive, strictly regulated, and easily verifiable. The approval of such a claim without basic verification raises legitimate concerns about whether oversight mechanisms were functioning as intended. At the minimum, the approval of the application reflects a reckless disregard for the verification obligations attendant upon the approving authority. At worst, it raises the possibility that the approval was granted with knowledge that the service claimed had not been rendered. These are matters that properly fell within the investigative remit of IPIT. Now moving over to governance and oversight issues arising from close personal relationship with the Office of the National Commissioner. I have on numerous occasions received complaints from various members of the South African Police Service regarding allegations of nepotism and preferential treatment within the Office of the National Commissioner. In this regard, I have prepared a presentation which I take the Commission to and which is attached here too, marked SS38, setting out the familial and personal relationship between certain individuals employed within the Office of the National Commissioner. I raise these issues because the existence of close familial personal relationship within a single executive office warrants scrutiny from a governance and oversight perspective, not because such relationships are inherently improper, but because of the heightened risk they pose to objectivity, accountability, and the effective functioning of internal controls. Where reporting lines, decision-making authority, or access to sensitive information intersect with personal relationship, there is an increased risk of perceived or actual conflict of interest, preferential treatment, and weakened oversight in an institution such as SAPS, which exercises extensive coercive powers and manages substantial public resources. The maintenance of transparent, impartial, and robust governance structures is essential to public confidence and institutional integrity. It is for these reasons that the relationship reflected in Access SS38 warrant careful examination within the scope of the Commission's mandate. In amplification of the above, it is noteworthy that the conduct and role of the other Deputy National Commissioners have not been examined by this Commission, despite the Commission's mandate to scrutinize senior leadership within the South African Police Service and the effectiveness of oversight mechanism at that level. In particular, the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for Police in General Musikidi, who was implicated in an incident at a macro store, in which it was alleged that she attempted to purchase household appliances through informal means and was subsequently deceived by two individuals who allegedly provided her with empty boxes after she had paid them an amount of 10,000. Following this incident, General Musikidi opened a criminal case of theft against the two individuals, alleging that her belongings had been stolen while they were assisting her to load groceries into the vehicle. The two individuals were arrested, after which General Musikidi later withdrew the charges of theft against these two individuals. The matter was thereafter referred to IPIT, which commenced an inquiry into General Musikidi's conduct arising from the incident, notwithstanding the referral to IPIT and the existence of an ongoing investigation. An internal report prepared on the instruction of the National Commissioner subsequently cleared General Musikidi of any wrongdoing. What is of concern from a governance and oversight perspective is the apparent disparity in the manner in which this matter was addressed. When contrasted with the scrutiny applied to other senior SAPS officials, despite the seriousness of the allegations and the fact that the matter had been referred to IPIT for independent investigation, an internal report commissioned at the instance of the National Commissioner purported to exonerate General Musikidi. This raises legitimate questions as to the consistency, independence, and robustness of internal accountability mechanism within the SAPS, and whether similar standard of scrutiny are applied uniformly across senior leadership. In or about April 2024, the Public Service Commission issued a report in terms of Section 194 of the Constitution concerning allegations of appointment irregularities at the SAPS. In that report, the Public Service Commission concluded that the promotion of General Sibiya to the position of head executive support and internal relations was irregular. A copy of the PSC report is attached here to marked as SS39. Subsequent engagement took place between, I'm reading throughout. Subsequent engagements took place between SAPS and the PSC regarding this finding. This engagement culminated in the preparations of an information note by Lieutenant General Dineo Nkua, the Divisional Commissioner Human Resource Management, in which SAPS records its disagreement with the PSC's conclusion. In the information note, SAPS maintains that the appointment of General Sibiya was effected in compliance with the applicable legislative framework and with the requisite authorization of the Minister of Police. A copy of the information note as well as the related correspondence is attached here to marked Annexer SS40. The apparent disjuncture between the findings of the Public Service Commission and the position adopted by SAPS management reflects a broader institutional weakness in internal governance control, particularly in relation to senior appointments, compliance with prescripts, and a clear delineation of authority. Effective governance within SAPS requires that oversight finding be meaningfully engaged with remedial steps be taken where irregularities are identified, and that executive authority be exercised in a manner that is demonstrably consistent with the constitutional and legislative obligations. A further point of concern for me is that General Sintumule has publicly denied having an association with Matlala. This denial is, however, difficult to reconcile. In connection with that event, I am in possession of a WhatsApp communication which indicate that General Sintumule instructed Major General Manamela to extend an invitation to Matlala to attend the Service Excellence Award. In or about 2024, it is further alleged that 10 free refrigerators were accepted by General Sintumule as a donation from May 24. I am also informed that Matlala and his wife were invited to General Sintumule's private residence prior to a relocation, to a trip to Cape Town, not relocation. It's a typo.
Sorry, General. The refrigerator donation was to the SAPS or to her personally?
It's to the SAPS during the Excellence Awards. Those are the fridges that will be given to the best performer on this or that.
Thank you.
In addition, it has been alleged that General Sintumule personally benefited from Matlala in circumstances that were not disclosed. These allegations include that certain elective medical procedures were performed by medical practitioners, the cost of which were paid for by Mr. Matlala. I am advised that these benefits were not declared through any formal disclosure. I raise these matters because...
Sorry, General, just before you move on, when you say it has been alleged, who alleges this?
Firstly, I think we had a witness here that spoke about certain senior managers who received BBL. And then in my case, what I said, where I said that because I work with her every day, I had to give her off. Sometimes because she could not sit, even in the car, even in the office, because she could not work. She had to always, at all times, be standing the whole day because she was not supposed to sit. And I even advised her to work from home. So as to the question as to who alleges, sometimes I shouldn't at this point in time maybe disclose who gave me the information, but I am able to give to the commission if I have to give. I'm forced to give it to the commission Because sometimes people's lives could be in danger as well.
Well, I think you should provide to us where you get information from. Otherwise, it just is this allegation that's written in the passive tense. It has been alleged. So I would ask that you do give us that information. You can give it to us during the adjournment, if you wish.
Yes, may I come back maybe the next morning with that response, Chair, so that I consult extensively in that regard.
Continue.
I raise these matters because, if established, they would raise serious concerns relating to conflict of interest, disclosure obligations, and the integrity of governance and oversight mechanism within the SAPS. I accordingly place these matters before the Commission for consideration, insofar as they may be relevant to its mandate to examine ethical governance, accountability, and the effectiveness of internal safeguards within the senior leadership of the SAPS. The National Commissioner's leadership style. The National Commissioner's approach to conflict resolution has, on a number of occasions, reflected inconsistency and apparent partiality, particularly in matters involving General Khumalo and myself. Although the National Commissioner acknowledged my concerns regarding being undermined and bypassed by General Khumalo, his interventions were largely limited and reactive rather than proactive or corrective. In one instance, I was advised that certain issues should not be raised publicly or in the presence of junior officials. While this guidance is understandable from the perspective of maintaining hierarchy and discipline, its practical effect was that the conduct complained of was not addressed, thereby allowing the situation to persist without consequences. The National Commissioner's approach in these circumstances appeared to have the preservation of long-standing personal relationship over the consistent enforcement of accountability, proper governance, and command discipline. During a visit to Cape Town, the National Commissioner convened a private meeting with the Provincial Commissioner of Crime Intelligence from the Free State. It was the Provincial Commissioner, and then it was the Provincial Commissioner of Free State, and then the Provincial Head of Crime Intelligence, and several senior crime intelligence officials. Despite my position as the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for crime intelligence, and notwithstanding that operational oversight of these matters fell squarely within my mandate, I was neither invited nor informed of this meeting. The meeting proceeded for approximately an hour in my absence. This exclusion had the effect of undermining my authority and bypassing established oversight and command structures. It further illustrates a pattern in which informal and decision-making were centralized, while institutionally mandated oversight roles were marginalized, to the detriment of transparent, accountable, and effective governance within South African Police Service.
You said informal, I think it's information. 3 lines from the top, 3 lines from the bottom.
Which information and decision-making were centralized, while institutionally mandated oversight roles were marginalized, to the detriment of transparent, accountable, and effective governance within South African